apostrophe S and poems, and critically it tells you the pages where that keyword is most prominent. Okay, this is most useful just to satisfy yourself that you've actually got the keywords into the site. If it did this for phrases, it would be brilliant. It doesn't. We need to have a different approach for phrases, and that's to use the Google cache of a page together with the site operator. So if you do a search which is site : and then your domain, and then you put the words that make up the phrase following that and click search, you'll get a list of the pages of your site. They'll be preferentially displayed with the relevance to your key phrase at the top. And what you then need to do is click on the link to the cache of the page, and Nick Kehoe will recognize his site. I used an example because it's quite a nice one to follow. He's got some unusual key phrases because he's in the sort of marketing for legal firms, does a lot of newsletter writing and things. He came on my course. Oh no, he didn't come on my course. He sent his wife and his son on my course about a year or more ago. But when you look at the cache, you'll see that the different words that make up your phrase are highlighted in different colours, and you can get a really good, quick, easy view of where they fall on the page. There's good spread with that. They start right at the top, and I haven't shown you the whole page, but they continue right down to the bottom. That's about the sort of level of occurrence that you're looking for. And I think critically in this page, which you don't see sometimes, is the words that make up the key phrase occur in other contexts, either alone or as sort of two words of the phrase law marketing. What you tend to find, if someone's gone and pecked up the key phrases in a page after it's been written, is you get lots of just the key phrase being inserted rather unfortunately, and you don't get this sort of much more natural look to things. When you've looked at the page like that, you need next to click on the text-only version up in that corner, and this gives you a much more of a spider's eye view of the page. So you see everything in source code order. You see the sizes that reflect the H tag. So critically, law firm marketing, that's the H1, and it's the first phrase in the H1, which is very good. The other thing you really need to check is the concordance between the page content and the page title. Okay? Because page title should contain your key phrase or your key phrases, preferably towards the beginning, and that should be mirrored by your H1 and your other tags, but not identical to it. Okay, so what goes wrong at that juncture? Well, the client who was the call center, we did a beautiful keyword research for them, and they sent it off to the copywriter who worked in London. And being a call center, it had about 12 of the 36 were sort of call center related terms. But unfortunately, the copywriter took a unilateral decision that call center was a pejorative term. People associate it with India and sort of underpaid labor and all those sorts of things. So she wrote the entire 60-page site referring to their operation as a contact center. Okay. Now, clearly you were going to spot that, but it was a real pain to undo it, because you can't just do find and replace and hope that everything's going to fall right. Okay. The other side of that, I've sort of alluded to. The people who put too many key phrases into their pages. Okay. And it comes from this idea that if something's, going to be good, the more you do it, the better it is. And you certainly very quickly reach a point where Google ignore any further instances of the key phrase, okay? And then if you go really overboard, you actually risk having a sort of penalty for overuse, over-repetition. Okay, we're on to the third element, which is that link building. And we're talking about all the possible techniques you might use, from article syndication, directory submission, press releases, link baiting, all the potential social media things like blogs and forum commenting and that sort of thing. And I think the important things you need to do is firstly monitor the number of inbound links you've got to your site, probably monthly, along with your sort of routine monitoring, because you just want to be aware if those drop off dramatically for any reason, or equally, but in a nice way, you want to sort of pick up if they jump hugely. And if someone who's got a popular blog adds you to their blog roll, you might suddenly get 2,000 extra links over a month, and it's useful to know where they are. And I think it's actually useful in that situation to enter into dialogue with the blog owner to sort of thank them and say, you know, actually, would you like me to contribute anything to the blog which might give you more links and more contextual links and that sort of thing. So what's the best way to monitor that? I think it's still Yahoo Site Explorer. And so long as you're consistent with the options you choose up here, so whether you want it to the whole site or just to the home page, whether you should really exclude the internal links in the site, and just keep a note of that number. And there, you can't see it, but it's about 5,400 and something for that romantic poetry site. Don't please rely on Webmaster Tools for that data. A year ago, they were fairly honest with the numbers. Then they started paring it back so it looked much more like the external link operator in Google. And then they've come back really strong, and I think they're probably being rather over generous, because the suggestion from that is that 18-month-old site from Webmaster Tools is that it has 233,000 inbound links. And since I've built them myself, I'm fairly confident it hasn't, and that the Yahoo Site Explorer is much closer to the real figure. Okay, I'm just going to ask people generally, have they got a sort of formalized idea in their head of how their links are to be built and how many they're going to build each month? Anyone at all? No, no one at Leicester would confess either. For our clients, we vary between 100 and 500 a month, depending on the competitive of their markets. And the reaction from Leicester was clearly that that was more than people were expecting. Okay. And I think there's a real problem here, in that you will look at quite a few SEO companies and they will have plans which are quite expensive, you know, £300, £400, £500 a month, when they say, and we'll generate 25 or 35 or 45 links for you per month. Okay, and I just don't think that's enough. Okay, so I suggest you go away and think quite hard about substantially increasing your link building thing, and set yourself some monthly targets. Okay, I've got on my desk at the moment what I've got to do by the 20th of next month, and it's 700 across 3 clients. Okay. The other thing I'd like you to think about is trying to diversify how you build your links. For all our clients, we do a mix, at least, of articles and directory submissions, and we encourage them to do press releases as well. If you're only doing one technique particularly, I think you want to look to expand it, because diversity in your links is as valuable as the number of links themselves in total. Okay. Why do sort of people underestimate the number of links they're going to need to build? I think it comes down principally to when you're doing that competition thing, you look at the sites that you've got to outrank, and say you've got a competitor that's got 1,000 links. It's sort of nice and easy to say to yourself, if I build 1,001 links of the same quality, I'll overtake them. But link age is critically important. If their links are on average 2 years old, you're probably looking at building double the number of links to get level with them. If they were all 10 years old, those links, I think you'd be looking at something around 30,000 links. Okay, as a rough rule of thumb, for each 2 years older than your site their links are, you need to double the number of links you're going to need just to get level.